Do you ever wonder what to do on the back of your quilt? Today I have some tips for making a pieced backing for your quilt. Let's get started.
I'm Andy, and this is True Blue Quilts, a place to enjoy, experiment, and excel as you quilt.
Let's talk about making a backing for a quilt that measures 60 inches by 70 inches. The easiest thing to do is to purchase extra wide fabric. It's generally sold on the bolt at 108 inches wide. That's a selvage to selvage measurement. So to cover this quilt, we would need 2 yards. That would give us 72 inches, which is enough to load this 60-inch quilt and have some space to attach that quilt on a long arm or give you some room. You never want the quilt back to be exactly the same size as the quilt top, because the quilting will pull in and you won't have enough room to maneuver there. So we want our backing larger, and then the 108 inches this direction will obviously give you lots of leftovers when you trim your quilt back down to that 60 by 70 measurement. Another option is piecing the back. And this takes a little bit of your mathematical and geometrical spatial reasoning there. We know we have approximately 40 inches, maybe 42, but by the time you do some piecing, you're going to need a piece that takes the full width and length of your yardage, and then the 20 plus. So we couldn't just buy another yard of fabric and slice it in half to try and get the length this way, because you need about 25 inches at a minimum. So if we just got the 2 yards, we're going to have to do a horizontal seam. So instead, to cover that distance. So instead of trying to piece the 40 inches and the 20 inches, I'm going to take 4 yards of fabric and cut it in half and piece it along the selvage. So I'll get my 72 inches there, 2 yards plus 2 yards, but then I'll have my 40 and my 40 width there. So I'm piecing along the selvage. So the 2 selvages will meet there in the middle to make that pieced backing if you wanted to use just one fabric. If you want to make a totally scrappy pieced backing for your quilt, I generally start with some kind of fabric and I work out with the measurements. So let's say we had a fat quarter here that's approximately 20 by 18 inches. And then I put, let's say I have some 5-inch pieces, and we could put that all the way around. So now we've added 10 inches, so we're up to 30 by 28. And you can see how if we continued digging in our scrap bin, maybe we had some 9-inch pieces here. So we now are up to about 48 inches wide that direction, and we would just have to maybe add some strips along the other way. And again, these could be scrappy pieces that you're working with to get the width and building the top and bottom to get the length that you need to make a scrappy back for your quilt.
I am starting with a focus fabric. I don't have enough of the light green to go all the way around, so I will just add it to two sides of that centerpiece. I dug in my scrap bins for more green fabric and added pieces to the other two sides of my focus fabric. The main colors on the quilt top are green and yellow, so I add some yellow to the back as well. Once the backing is wide enough, I can just find some other large pieces to bring the length up to the required size. Have you ever made a scrappy quilt back, or do you prefer to use just one fabric on the back of your quilts? Let me know in the comments. Would you like to see some free motion quilting designs now that your quilt top and backing are ready? Click on the video below for designs that work well in triangles. Or if you need some tips and techniques for making quilt blocks, check out those videos as well. And don't forget to subscribe. Every week I share quilting tips and inspiration.